Welcome again. We are so glad that you were able to join us today for this press conference discussing the policy framework for an effective and equitable transition. Please note that the press conference is going to be recorded. My name is Christina Freed, and I'm a staff attorney with the Human Rights Solidarity Organization, the Institute for Justice and Democracy in Haiti. IJDH is thrilled to support this important initiative today led by Haitian feminist and human rights organizations. And we'll start off today with some introductory remarks from our panelists about the framework and its context, followed by a question and answer portion. We'll ask that you stay muted while the panelists are speaking, and if you have any questions for them, please put them in the chat and we'll pose them during the Q&A portion at the end. We strongly encourage questions from both journalists and others. We'll also have simultaneous interpretation from English to Creole. And now I'd like to introduce you to our panelists. So we have with us today Pascal Solage, Corinne Jocelyn, and Sasha Filipova. Pascal Solage is a grassroots Haitian feminist organizer, gender specialist, and social and political activist. She's the co-founder and general coordinator of Neges Mawon, a Haitian feminist organization dedicated to combating the effects of patriarchal societal structures on women. Pascal is also a lead member of the Petro-Carib Challengers movement and co-founded Nupap Domi, a Haitian civil society organization that advocates for social justice, anti-corruption, and accountable governance in Haiti. Pascal has previously served in the cabinets of 2 ministers for the status and rights of women in Haiti. Corinne Jocelyn is a Haitian American leader, feminist, advocate, and bridge builder. She's the founder and managing director of the Haitian Women's Collective, which works to support local grassroots women-led organizations working throughout Haiti in direct sectors. In addition to managing the ongoing development of the Haitian Women's Collective, Corinne leads the organization Diaspora Community Services in Brooklyn, New York, which was founded by Haitian women over 40 years ago and continues to support women migrants in the New York area. Sasha Filipova is a senior staff attorney for the Institute for Justice and Democracy in Haiti, which for the past 20 years has been working in solidarity with its Haiti-based sister organization, the human rights law firm Bureau des Avocats Internationaux, to drive systemic change in Haiti by helping Haitian activists and grassroots groups enforce their internationally recognized human rights. Sasha leads IJDH's women's rights work in solidarity with many Haitian partners, including the 2 present. Her work in this space includes contributing to this policy framework and advocating to address widespread violence against women and girls in Haiti during the present crisis. So I turn it over to you. Pascal, would you like to kick us off with your introductory remarks?
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. So thank you so much for being here to respond to this invitation. So more than 8 years without election in Haiti, a crisis for more than 6 years, a political, social, economic, and security crisis with thousands of deaths, more than 500,000 displaced persons, thousands of cases of rape and violence of all kinds suffered by women. So today we have a transitional government in Haiti. And as organizations that have mobilized for all these years to denounce the situation in Haiti, we did this work, we did this policy framework to propose to the government of transition what must be done with the Haitian women, for the Haitian women doing this transition, where women have been historically excluded and invisibilized in all spaces, their rights and their future. So unfortunately today, the signals given by the Presidential Council and the government of Gary Coney show that they will continue the same practice of exclusion and discrimination. By example, we have a Presidential Council with 7 members and only 1 woman. No women were interviewed for the position of Prime Minister. And today we have a new commission that will be working on the reform of the penal code. And this commission has 9 members, including only 1 woman and a priest. So this penal code has major issues that will be decisive for the future of Haitian women, unfortunately. So when we look the process of setting up an electoral council for the election, by example, we already see clear signals that this trend is continuing. Practice have not changed, practice of exclusion of women, and also a lack of transparency. And there are other key institutions that the transitional government is due to put together that will fundamentally shape the future of Haiti. So the next election will be crucial for Haitian women. One of the biggest challenge they faced in the last election in the country was electoral violence. And this government must create a fair and equitable process from the beginning to give trust to Haitian women who want to participate fully in those elections and to avoid another crisis in the country. But we see no sign that it is treating that this issue is treating as a priority, and that is why it's so urgent that our framework, our proposition is implemented. So the document, by example, signed by the government of transition in Kenya gives complete immunity to the members of the international force when we clearly ask from the beginning for mechanism to prevent, control, and sanction abuse that women can face according to our experience in the past. And it says loud and clear that there is no political will to really protect Haitian women and to correctly address the situation of violence they live every day. So with this document, with this policy framework issued by feminist and human rights groups in Haiti, we propose clear path to ensure the inclusion of women, the centering of concerns specifically affecting women and girls, and the priorities of Haiti's movement, Haiti's women's movement for a successful transition. As I said, with this policy framework issued by the feminist and human rights group in Haiti, we remind in this document that Haitian women and girls are entitled to dignity, equal rights, and effective protection under Haitian and international law, including the right to equal participation in the public life of their nation. That focusing on women's leadership and specific needs is one of the best practice and policy standard for peace building and conflict affected transition worldwide, reflecting the empirical recognition that results are most effective and sustainable when deployed. That a sustainable transition based on human rights must address the serious inequalities and discrimination suffered by Haitian women and girls in public and domestic life in violation of their rights, and that Haitian women and girls have the right to live free from public and private violence and to have meaningful recourse against such violence, and that Haitian women participation in leadership must be material, autonomous, and adequately resourced. And today, through the Ministry for the Status of Women and Women's Rights in Haiti, responsible for guiding and enforcing government policy by working towards the emergence of an egalitarian society, all the state institutions concerned through the governance of Monsieur Garikoni and the leadership of the Presidential Council, we hope to see them move in the right direction for the inclusion of women with clear feminist agenda. So it's not just representation for representation. We want a representation that serves feminist agenda and women's rights, advance of rights of women in Haiti. So if we want to resume our recommendation in this document, we can say that we ask to fully apply Haiti's constitution, international human rights norms, and best practice for conflict-affected transition by ensuring that women are full and equal participants in all peace building, transitional, and rebuilding activities. That transitional authorities must especially empower the participation of women in the next electoral process at all levels, from the setting up of the CRP to the installation of elected representatives, to fully apply Haiti's constitution, international human rights norms, and best practice for conflict-affected transition by centering across every undertaking factors that distinctly impact women and girls, especially women's ability to shape and take part in the political process, including as policymakers, monitors, candidates, and voters. This takes security and access to justice needs, including with respect to both sexual and political violence and economic access and empowerment. To explicitly invest in women's long-term equality through legislative, institutional, and policy change by adequate and sustained funding. In particular, ensure sufficient institutional capacity, services, and accountability mechanism responsive to women's distinct needs, including effective protection from and justice for GBV, reduction of discrimination and politic violence, and support for economic empowerment. To center the priorities and approach defined by the Haitian women's movement, especially the Haitian women-led organization and those organizing at the grassroots level. Ensure financial and other support for existing women's organizations in Haiti, especially including those dedicated to policy and political change, and actively center their expertise in policy deliberation, monitoring and oversight, and any key appointment. And finally, every aspect of this transition must specifically consider to dismantle historical and structural inequalities and counterproductive practice targeting Asian women. So we did this work with a lot of allies and partners, and we want to continue to spread this document, to propose it officially to the government, and to share it with all institutions that can help, to impose this policy framework today. So thank you so much again for being here today to respond to this invitation, and for all the work you do every day to help Asian women and girls in Haiti. Thank you so much.
But I'm always happy to be here, and certainly happy to share this time with all of you, and thank Pascal for her great commentary and really setting the stage, I guess, and framework for all of us. I also would like to thank IJDH for their continued advocacy and focus on Haitian women. As previously said, I'm Karen Jocelyn, and I have the honor of representing the Haitian Women's Collective, which is a collective of primarily Haitian women-led organizations throughout the country working in diverse spaces. They continue to provide services even in this time of multitude of crises in Haiti. And unfortunately, women in Haiti continue to deal with increased violence without justice and live in extreme poverty without any social protections. They do the best, obviously, that they can to continue to thrive despite the lack of regard for their human rights and the lack of equality and safety. So for several years now, the Haitian Women's Collective has spent a lot of time listening and learning to our various partners and advisors and leaders, and really trying to share the voices of local Haitian women on the global stage in order to honor them. Haitian women leaders, activists, mothers, entrepreneurs, and of course, Haitian girls. We honor them in their work, and we really applaud them for their consistent commitment to communities, and will continue as a collective to support the reinforcement of their capacities as best we can, because we know and understand that oftentimes they are the key support in many communities. I'd like to thank really, and when we started this framework and things were kind of going back and forth, and certainly I like to have learning opportunities, and this was also a learning opportunity for me. I was really encouraged by the many organizations that signed on to support this framework. It's a testimony to their conviction that women matter everywhere, and that certainly Haitian women matter. in particular, and there are lots of folks on this list, and again, I thank them, but when you look at Black Feminist Future endorsing this framework, which is a political hub focused on possibilities of social and political power for Black women, the Empire Women Development Initiative based in Nigeria, Equality Now that works globally to create a just world for women, partners that we've worked with, like Partners in Health, Haitian Bridge Alliance, the organization Madre, which builds racial, gender, and climate justice with grassroots partners all around the world. They have endorsed this framework, as well as many of the human rights and global justice clinics within several schools of law. When we look at who has endorsed this, which I think is really important because it's not just about internal to Haiti or the same, I guess, characters, if you will, but from South Africa to Senegal, Tunisia to France, from Colombia to Macedonia, Colombia to Trinidad and Tobago and Brazil. Throughout the world, there's a recognition that this is a time of political transformation in Haiti, and it's a time for Haitian women to matter. We're often called in Haitian society the Potomitan, and that's great, or referred to as being resilient in the media. That's also very nice, but the reality is that we still have girls throughout Haiti who need to have access to the right to believe that their futures will be equal, and they will have equal access, equity, and justice, with the freedoms to live their lives in dignity, and especially without violence. I think this is the time now that this policy framework addresses the continued marginalization of Haitian women in society. It does address human rights, reinforces global protocols, laws, treaties as its foundation. And we realize that women-led organizations need to be funded as feminist thought partners as part of this transition, as leaders and sources for community engagement. We need to make sure that women's specific concerns are central to policy and decision-making in the transitional government. It cannot be an afterthought. Women's voices are needed throughout Haiti, including rural, urban, and the most remote areas. This transitional government can and should go beyond the 30% quota limitation. This is an opportunity to confront and address historic injustice and structural exclusions and inequalities. Haitian women must play an important role in the future of Haiti. The government must include women, not only, as I said, at the bare minimum of 30%, but across diplomatic, executive, managerial positions to move the country forward. Using mechanisms such as formal consultations is key to hearing the voices of local women-led organizations. This is why women must be part of leading and prioritizing women-specific considerations that must be centered. With the ongoing crisis in Haiti, the vulnerability to climate change, and the need for constructive and inclusive peace building, this is a great opportunity to integrate the policy framework and to implement the recommendations. This is a time when Haiti can make a leap towards greater dignity and equity for women and girls. Again, I thank all of you here and thank the many different organizations and thought partners around the world that have endorsed this framework. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am so honored and inspired to be here in support of this effort led by Haitian feminist and human rights organizations. Including women in leadership and decision-making and centering the distinct needs and interests of women and girls is not just a question of justice, though it is, including as required by Haiti's constitution, and that is reflected in Principle 1 of the framework. And it isn't just good for Haiti's women and girls, though of course it is what is necessary to address serious gendered harms like widespread sexual violence and displacement resulting from the present crisis, and deeper gendered inequalities and exclusions that have historically marginalized Haiti's women and girls, and that is reflected in Principles 3 and 4. Centering women and girls is actually what is necessary for Haiti's transition to be effective for Haiti as a whole, because gender equity is central to good governance. It is widely recognized based on many transitions around the world that where women are excluded from leadership and where gender equity and gender-specific considerations are treated as separate from and subordinate to questions like security, the results are compromised governance and chronic instability. By contrast, we know that greater gender equity strongly correlates with greater levels of democracy and social stability and more robust economic development for all people in that society. And that is why implementing this framework is so urgent and so important. Gender equity is not optional if Haiti's transition is to succeed for all Haitians. We're concerned that we haven't seen this globally recognized best practice of centering women and women-specific considerations in transition. We haven't seen it set out as a serious priority for the international donors and policy partners engaging with Haiti. They have failed to do so even though the global community has explicitly committed to this practice, for example, through UN's Women, Peace, and Security agenda. And as a first principle, I do want to emphasize that Haiti's transition is for Haitians, and of course, including Haitian women and girls to determine, not for international actors like the US government, whose chronic interference in Haitian affairs and development are demonstrably at the root of Haiti's present crisis. But foreign actors are involved and Haiti does need support. And so this is a set of principles that equally applies to their work, which will hopefully be done in solidarity with Haitian leadership. For example, investments like the $60 million in aid that the US ambassador to the UN, Linda Thomas Greenfield, announced in her visit to Haiti this week will be more successful and impactful if they're structured around principles of gender equity and localization as central tenets of programming and distribution. And by localization, I mean centering leadership by and priorities of local organizations and organizers, especially those working most closely with affected communities and individuals. Those are oftentimes women. I also want to build on something that Corinne said in her remarks about this being a moment of opportunity. IJDH and our Haiti-based sister organization, Bureau des Avocats Internationaux, have for years worked on confronting gender-based violence directed against Haitian women and girls and confronting broader gendered social inequalities. We have worked, including with Pascal and Corinne, to document widespread sexual violence that has characterized the present crisis and the lack of services and protections for women and girls. These reflect not just the governance collapse and insecurity of the present moment, but also chronic gender-based violence and gender inequality in all public and private spaces that we have documented for years and which reflect the fundamental structural discrimination against women and girls in Haiti. And this moment of transition is an opportunity to remake some of that structural injustice as Haiti invests in renewing its institutions and its social compact. And failing to focus on the rights of women and girls would be a tremendously wasted opportunity. Finally, I'll close by joining Corinne and highlighting just how much support this framework has gathered. Endorsements have kept coming in, and we're at 129 total at last count, with more coming. Of these, 68 are Haitian organizations, many of them women-run and operating at the grassroots, like both Pascal's Negus Mawon and Corinne's Haitian Women's Collective and its many partners. Those include some of Haiti's most prominent human rights organizations like the National Human Rights Defense Network, or IJDH, and Platform of Haitian Human Rights Organizations, POHDH, and security-focused groups like the Groupe de Travail sur Sécurité. They're joined by a wealth of Haitian American organizations like the Haitian Ladies Network, the Haitian American Foundation for Democracy, HAFD, and the Family Action Network movement. And solidarity organizations like my own from around the world are standing with them. These include global, regional, and national women-focused organizations, as well as human rights advocates, academics, and funders, ranging from Amnesty International USA, Refugees International, Madre, and Equity Now, to Fos Feminista and Black Feminist Future, the African Initiative of Women Human Rights Defenders from South Africa, the Coalition on Violence Against Women from Kenya, the Global International Civil Society Working Group for the Permanent Forum on People of African Descent, and Women for Peace in the World from Europe. This is a powerful Haitian-led movement demanding a more equitable transition for Haiti that will also make the transition more effective as a whole. And this requires immediately and fully implementing the framework by transitional authorities and their global partners alike. This concludes our prepared remarks. So at this point, we'll switch over to questions. Please share them in the chat, and Brian Concannon is going to pose them to the panelists.
Hi, everybody. I look forward to everybody's questions, but while we're waiting for those to come in, I'd like to ask my own. And maybe this is directed to Pascal, but I'd certainly encourage anybody else to jump in with an answer. But where do we go from here? How do we get from, this platform, which has a lot of support, to concrete improvements for women and girls in Haiti?
Oh, okay. Thank you. So as I said, it's a first step. This press conference today, we will do a campaign in Haiti with the national media. We will work with other organizations in Haiti, and we will officially give the policy framework to the government of transition, and discuss maybe with some of them about what we propose in this document. Unfortunately, there are people in the space who can implement this policy framework. We will continue to meet people who can influence their action, their policies, their decision regarding what we propose in this document. We will continue to do pressure on the government of transition and the Presidential Council to take action regarding what we propose in this document. So it's a long way. Unfortunately, doing this proposition is the first step. We have to impose this proposition to the people in power. I talk about all the members of the government, all the members of the Presidential Council, and institutions at international level that can influence what they do in Haiti, what they will do with the international force, what they will do with all the process for election. So as I said, it's a long path, and we will do our work as civil society, has human rights activists, feminist activists, political activists, to continue the advocacy for this document and all other proposition and all other document we can find that can help this government, this Presidential Council, to not doing a failure of this transition, because we don't have the luxury to fail this transition. As I said, we have to build something for the next step, for the election. We have to do a solid transition to avoid another crisis, another 5-10 years of crisis in this country. And this transition is supposed to be the end of the crisis for the Haitian population. It's not the transition of Gary Coney. It's not the transition of the Presidential Council. It's the transition of the Haitian population to stop the cycle of violence, of crisis that we knew for more than 6 years now, and with Oyelangi and before Oyelangi. And we don't want to see, the continuing of the practice, the political practice in the country. So we are only organization, as I said, of the civil society. We will do our part. We will do our work to start doing our part in transitional process, and we'll continue to advocate, to impose, to act, to mobilize, and to talk, to dialogue with all the actors who can, make really change, the real change that we need in this transition. But for the next election and for the next government we will have in the next election in the country. So for now, I think we have a plan. A national plan, and a plan for Haiti, a plan for talking to all international actors that can influence too, and we'll continue to do this work. But we will need all the support that we can find from all the organization, institution, activists, political activists, political actors, and other people in Haiti and world to really impose what we want to see in this transition and what we want has changed for Haiti.
Yeah, I would just want to add briefly that this is also an issue that equally affects international partners of Haiti, because as I mentioned, we're really not seeing women's leadership and women-specific considerations centered in how donors and policymakers around the globe, when they engage in Haiti's transition right now as partners, hopefully, we're not seeing that centered, and that has to change. And in fact, there are any number of international principles to which all of these actors have agreed to that say this must change. So we are also going to be working on making sure that this framework is shared widely with policymakers and the broader community of Haiti's partners, and call on them to really ensure that their giving and their partnership is really centered around the set of principles.
Thanks, Sasha. I think for me, what the initial thought that comes to mind is that now that this framework is out and we're sharing it publicly, which includes sharing it with the Transitional Council and others um, who are in positions of power, I guess, in Haiti. Um, concretely, they could actually publicly comment on the framework, have a conversation about recommendations. They can bring women leaders in Haiti together, including younger women, feminists, to the table to have a conversation about setting priorities, using this framework, and then other areas as well. So I think that, as we're saying, this can't happen alone. It's not just the responsibility of one set of people or one group. We need more support to be able to implement some of this, but certainly the lead from the government and the transitional government is extremely important, as well as our international partners. So issues around women must have UN women at the table. Time for those folks to begin to listen to Haitian women and to know what it is that they need. So be it UN Women, be it UNFPA, be it World Bank that has a whole gender strategy. This is the time, this is the opportune time, in fact, to begin to prioritize the needs of Haitian women. I also think that, nothing moves without money, right? So you want these organizations to do the work. You want activities. You want to, have the support of communities and so forth. Organizations need to be financed to be able to do that in an equitable way. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I just saw a question in the chat. What strategy you have to protect the women in Haiti? I just want to say that the responsibility to protect women in Haiti is the responsibility of the state, the responsibility of the government, of people in power. But for years now, the feminist organization and other organization, human rights organization, we did this work for years because the state didn't take their responsibilities. For now, by example, the feminist organization, they offer all services that Asian women need daily in Haiti, especially the survivors of all kinds of violence they can face in Haiti. We have safe house for them. We help them with legal support. We help them with medical, psychological support. We help them with economic support. We help hundreds of displaced women and girls in the country. We don't even have enough resources, enough time, enough security, enough anything to do this work. But the lack of responsibility of the Asian government, the former Asian government, and I'm sorry, this new presidential council and the new government didn't take the responsibility. We have to do the work. We have to do the work with the resources that we have. So today, to protect Asian women is protecting their rights too. Their rights to speak about what they want as citizens is the country, to protect their right to be, to participate fully in all decisions, all spaces that will decide what the next 5-10 years of their lives will be in the country. Protecting Asian women is protecting their right to be fully citizen in this country. And this is a part of this work. Proposing a plan for the security in this policy framework is a strategy to protect Asian women. Because as feminist organization today, we continue to help survivors of MINUSTA. We continue to help women who survive from sexual violence of MINUSTA soldiers. So today, proposing a plan monitoring the action of the new international force monitoring all the work they will do with the national police, the new government. It's important for us to do this to protect Haitian women, because we know all the abuse they can face when we have this type of solution for Haiti. So all those action, all this advocacy, all this work that we do daily is a part of the strategy to protect Haitian women, and it's the responsibility of the state. And unfortunately, it's not a priority for former government, this new government, etc., etc., etc. So we will continue to do how, as I said, our part of the strategy to give services, to intervene in the communities, to give everything we have as organization to the women and girls in the country, to mobilize support at the international level for the Haitian women in the girls, and to put pressure on the government to mobilize all the forces, national police, and everything they have as resources to protect the lives of the Haitian women. And we want to see clear action. We want to see clear decision that this is a priority for the government of Gary Coney and the Presidential Council. And unfortunately for today, we don't have clear signal that this is really important to them to put this in their agenda as a new government.
Thank you, Pascal. Another question is that the policy framework talks about tokenism, explaining that there's that having women physically in positions does not necessarily lead to empowerment and improvement for all women and girls. And can you talk a little bit about that and make specific recommendations of what needs to happen to really implement the framework's goals?
I think that's to you, Pascal.
Karine or me?
Yeah, I mean, I can start, but just
Oh,
my
go ahead,
initial response, yeah, I think my initial response is, we see that we have a new Minister of Women's Affairs, Conditions Féminines, who didn't come out to say, we need to create a equity agenda or a feminist agenda, but spoke about families as if women are somehow separated from families doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, or that prioritizing the needs of women. When we look at how women are living in Haiti now during this time, displaced, not having places to live, obviously, unfortunately, and sadly, real issues about gender-based violence and sexual assault, mutilation, physical mutilation of women and girls. And so to come out, as in essence, the representative, right, of the Prime Minister's initiative in terms of women, and he has mentioned women as being a priority, it brings up a question about what does priority of women really mean to this transitional council. So when we say tokenism, it's, we're not going to put I don't know, say a woman who is a designer to lead education, right? Well, we'll put a woman who's a designer to lead cultural arts. So we want women who understand the need for gender justice. We want women who understand a feminist agenda and principles, who want to see women's empowerment, and who want to build on an equality agenda for Haitian women in Haiti. Women who are experienced, who are knowledgeable, who have been working in Haiti around this. There are many amazing, wonderful, dynamic feminist women who understand and know the context and know how to move the agenda forward. That's who we want to be part of conversations to implement things like this framework forward. Pascal?
Yes, I just want to add something. One of the recommendation of the policy framework I will read, center priorities and approach defined by the Haitian women's movement, especially Haitian women-led organization and those organizing at the grassroots level, and show financial and other support for existing women's organization. So it's important for us. We thought for years for having the quota in Haiti. So it's important for us to have women in all spaces that will decide for us as women, as citizens, as Asian, and everything. And we strongly believe that every woman, even women, we don't have the same political line, everything. They have the right to do politics. But as feminists, as people working for the advancement of women's rights in the country, it's important for us to have women in spaces that who can be allies, who can be partners, who can use the feminist agendas, who can use the agendas of the Asian women's movement to impose what we need as Asian women in the spaces that will decide for us. For years, we had experiences with women in different spaces. And if I want to take maybe an example with the government of Ariel Henry, we had a Minister of Justice. She was a woman. And she has, I think, a lot of expertise and everything, but she didn't do anything to prevent or to denounce or to sanction what happened to Asian women in the country when we have thousands of women survivors of sexual violence, survivors of all kinds of violence from the gangs or other spaces. So for now, by example, we have election. So we need someone by example, in the therapy who can fight, for advancing all we need for the women who want to participate fully in the election as candidates or as voters. So it's not only having women's faces in the places, it's having women's who can really fight for Asian women and who prioritize what Asian women needs and want as citizens and as women in the country. And for us, it's really important that the women that we have in power during this transition and after, they can be allies for us in the parliament, in the ministries, everywhere, in all the state institutions and others. So it was important for us to talk about it in the document, in the policy framework, because as feminists, we will denounce a woman in this transition who continue to do everything like the status quo or, not fighting for what we need now in the country as women. And it will be our right to denounce it, and we will. So it was important for us to put this focus in the policy framework to say it's not only identity representation, not only sterile representation, it's real representation for us. It's really important today to really work for Asian women and not only having personal accomplishment to have women in places pursuing their career. It's really for us to be able to have women who can advance what we put as agenda, feminist agenda, for now, our priorities in the country and internationally. So it's important for us. It was important, and I think we understand that it was important to put it in the policy framework and to advocate for this part too.
Thank you. We have a question from Erna, which is, I think it's a particularly good question because each of Karine and Pascal and Sasha will have a slightly different perspective on this. But the question is, at the moment, with the state in which our country is in, are individuals still going to travel there to speak to the government and help the women who are already on the ground? And then her second part of the question is, will there be fundraisers for this work?
I'm happy to start. I think we want to be, and certainly from the Haitian Women's Collective, we always use a kind of asset-based approach to the work. And the assets, frankly, are Haitian women and Haitian young people and Haitian girls who know what they want, They know what they need. They understand the context and the problems, certainly more than I do, and probably more than most of us here. And so it's not necessarily that we need to have everyone kind of coming into Haiti to advocate, but how do we support women and girls that we know, or systems that we already know, or organizations like a Neges Mawa, or organizations like a Marie-Jeanne, who are young feminists, who are advocating, who are out there, who are, going to denounce what's wrong. Those are the ways that we can support, I think, in a better way. Quite frankly, spending, now I think it's like $1,000 to fly into Haiti these days, right? It's better to use those funds to be able to resource local women-led organizations, to be able to continue to have these dialogues, to have staffing, to address, something as basic as transportation at this point in Haiti. And certainly, as you've mentioned, the status of security or lack of security in the country. I think that's really important. These organizations like Neges Mawa have websites and so forth. And of course, you can always connect with Pascal afterwards in terms of how to financially support and resource Neges Mawa and others.
Thanks, Karine. And would Pascal or Sasha have anything to add to that? Are we all set? Okay, we have another question.
Well, I can add a little bit, Brian. I'll focus more on international actors in the space as someone who's not Haitian myself. But what I mentioned about the importance of localization in terms of how international actors should really engage with Haiti is really important to this question. I think there's a tendency to sort of fly in fancy international consultants and imagine that they can do this work better than the locals. And as Karine said, they're already, and as Pascal shared in her intervention, they're already really incredible women and girls doing really important community work and organizing work on the ground. And they're the ones who know the spaces best and have the best connections. And frankly, they're the ones whose experience should really be driving priorities and programming design, etc. So I would just say that one important point is to center the expertise of the people who are actually working on the ground, and to make sure to organize around that, as opposed to from the outside in, as is too often done.
Thank you, Sasha. The next question we have is from Kate, and it's, has the transitional government or the MSS mission, the Kenyan-led police mission, created any channels for civil society organizations to partner beyond consultations? And what do you see as the role of the transitional government to partner with Haitian women-led civil society?
And the question is about what can the transitional government do now?
Yeah, I guess what has the transitional government done to partner with Haitian-led civil society? And perhaps the longer part of it would be, what should it be doing?
I can't speak for, all organizations. I can say that probably in the at least 20 local organizations that are part of the collective, that there's probably been a little to no interaction with the transitional council. And so, having said that, what can they do? Bring folks together. It's not, rocket science about who the primary women-led, feminist organizations are in Haiti, who've been doing this work for decades, right? Young and New, the wiser ones, those who have worked on changing policies and laws in the country to benefit women and families. I think it's an opportunity to really not only say, we want women involved, but to bring them together in a methodical way, and to maybe have them respond to this framework, see what they think about how to implement some of the various areas and ideas that we have in here, and perhaps, and I'm sure they probably have other thoughts and ideas. So, government is responsible for the people of Haiti. I say this all the time, but I think because the people of Haiti have never really had a responsible government, they kind of feel like they just got to figure it out on their own, right? So as Pascal's talked about, protection. We would never say in the United States that people are just, you just got to protect yourself. That is the role of government, to protect its citizens. And so I think it's also just the opportune time, as I said in my statement, for this transitional council to bring Haitian women leaders together, for the minister to bring Haitian women leaders together, bring those international partners, as Sasha has said, together, so that this is seen as a priority, right? So once the government of Haiti says this is a priority and we need to figure out how we best move forward, the international partners and large NGOs will follow in step and support that.
Just to add to the piece that you asked about the MSS, which is the Kenya-led non-UN, non-peacekeeping mission that deployed on a day when Kenyan police was killing peaceful demonstrators in their own country. The authorizing UN resolution for that mission promised a set of protection measures, including especially for women from sexual exploitation and abuse. And it promised a set of measures for accountability mechanisms that would allow victims of any abuses from the mission to get accountability and safety. And it promised to do all of this with, quote, the highest commitment to transparency. And we have seen no information about such protection or accountability measures. All we've seen is a status of forces agreement that mostly does a lot to immunize any deployed troops pursuant to this resolution from any kind of action, and really fails to live up to this promise. And I think that's broadly representative in terms of consistent failures to live up to international human rights obligations to the Haitian people and to protections, and especially to women and girls. And, every time we see civil society consultations, at least in my experience, and like Korean, obviously I can't speak to everyone, but from having talked to a lot of partners on the ground, too often it is an experience where people are put into a room for a brief amount of time and asked general questions without really a pathway to impact on actual policies or program design or anything else. It is a box checking exercise that completely fails to live up to the substance of the promise, and in fact wastes the time and resources of the activists who are risking their lives to actually do the hard work of rebuilding Haiti on the ground.
Well, thank you, Sasha. So Kebi's question is, I'm truly impressed with the policy framework, the mobilization behind advocating for Haitian women and girls, and the level of detail and thoughtfulness in addressing these issues. I have a question for the panel regarding implementation. What measures exist or will exist to implement the policy framework recommendations? I'm interested in understanding the mechanisms that are or will be in place to ensure these initiatives move forward effectively. Thank you.
From Haiti's constitution and international law, we have a lot of measures that already exist in Haiti, will give the path to implement what we propose in this policy framework. And unfortunately, everything we propose, they have to be done by the government, by the political actors in power. This is the part of our work. We are civil society. So now doing this work and propose this to the presidential council, to the new government of transition, they will have all the recourse to use to implement what we propose in this document. And especially, it's really something for the transition. We understand that this government has two focus: security, election, but as feminists, we talk about the humanitarian crisis too we have with the women and girls, with all the population, but especially with the women and girls. As I said, we have more than 500,000 people displaced in Port-au-Prince. During this transition, we have to do something. We can wait more than 1 year to address the situation. Of course, the focus is election and security, but this is a big part of the security problem in this country. So what it will take to implement this policy framework. The first thing is the political will of this government of transition to have an inclusive government, to work with Haitian women and for Haitian women, and they can have all the mechanism from Haiti's constitution and international law, everything we sign as country, for going forward. And as civil society, what we can do, the mechanism that we have is to continue to advocate, to put pressure, to work maybe together with other actors at the international and national level to impose or to work together to do what we propose in the policy framework. So it's difficult. We know sometimes when we do work as civil society organization, people expect that we will do the work of the state too. This is not our role, our responsibility. And we have to do our part, but they have to do their own work too, as Asian political actors and international partners of the state. So as I said before, for I think the second question, we will work to meet with maybe the presidential council, members of the new government, maybe the Minister of Women's Rights, to discuss, to officially give them the document to dialogue, to propose, to do our work, okay? But the political will to really follow what we propose in this document will give us a real ID if, all the beautiful words, all the declaration in the press, in the media, if it's real, or if it's just a show for the, international and national media to say, we want something different, want to do something different, we want to build something different with Asian women. We will see with that, because with that, they really have tools to do the work as they have to do it. So we will see. We'll give the document. I think today is the first step, as I said, and the next step, they are the steps of the new government and the Presidential Council of Haiti and the partners, international partners too. Because as Karen said, we need money to fight. We need money to build. We need money to rebuild in Haiti. We need money to protect Haitian women. We need money to fight the economic crisis they know today, they face today. We need money to give them services, to give them the rights they miss for years now. And without resources, not only financial resources, but without resources, we can do that as organization and as political actors. We will see with the international partners if it's a priority too, where they will put their money. Okay, so we have a lot of money. They say they have a lot of money from the international force for fighting the insecurity, but the Asian women facing everyday this insecurity. What is the solution? So we will see in the next week, the next month, what is the real vision and political will of the government of transition and the partners at the national and international level.
I would just say ditto, exactly what she said. Maybe Sasha.
Yeah, honestly, this is building on exactly what Pascal said, but perhaps to put it in additional terms. I think the framework is meant to be two things. One, sort of a very centralized, visible, clear set of principles and measuring stick, and then a highly decentralized tool for advocacy. So what I mean by that, so the way the framework is put together is it sets out 5 principles that are really built on really strong foundations of well-accepted constitutional provisions and Haitian laws and international human rights principles that are part of Haiti's laws and constitution by operation of a constitutional provisions that makes them so. And things like best practices as established by the UN's Women, Peace, and Security agenda in terms of needing to center women and women-specific considerations in transitions and conflict-affected spaces. So all of these are principles that in theory, all of the actors involved, from the transitional government in Haiti and implementers on the ground to international partners, et cetera, have already accepted in lots of other spaces. So all of this isn't controversial. And we just point out what the necessary conclusions and corollaries of those principles that they have accepted are, that they must implement and they must hold central to all of their activities if they are going to live up to their own stated promises and priorities. And then the recommendations we provide are ways in which that can be implemented. And so it's done in a way where then actors who are engaged in Haiti's transition can be directly measured against it, as Pascal mentioned, so that it's not just lip service, but we can actually see, is a particular action, a particular statement actually aligned with the set of principles and the set of recommendations. And if it's failing to live up to them, then clearly, even if someone says, mentions women lots of times, then that is not actually doing service to Haitian women and girls, and that person must do better. And I also just want to highlight that this shouldn't be a set of principles that only women's organization or women leaders should be held accountable to. This is really, if every person, regardless of their gender, should be responsible for in leadership, and especially and including men and boys. And then the second piece of it is really for it to be a decentralized advocacy tool, that it's really, we envision a persistent string of activities, from open letters and press conference to direct engagement and demonstrations, et cetera, that different groups in Haiti and around the world will engage in. And we're so thrilled to have this incredible community of endorsers already who are fired up about supporting Haiti's women and girls. And we expect that they will take actions around the set of principles. And, just as an illustration, all of this should serve to prevent things like the Haitian Times did a 30-day review of interim Prime Minister Creole's performance, and it really didn't mention equity and women's rights, and that should never happen again. Anytime any actor's engagement in Haiti's transition is assessed, this should be a central piece of it, because it is, as I said, this piece of equity isn't just a side issue. It is central to the question of good governance and security in Haiti.
Thank you, Sasha. We have one final question. This is from Yolette. And Yolette asks, I wonder what role the U.S. can play since they're a major player in the transition. I'd love to see the Biden-Harris administration make women's rights a condition to continued support.
Well, you mean the Harris-Biden administration? Just kidding. This is a great question, and what I would say is, certainly there are so many folks that we know, and some are our partners or advisors to the collective, who have been knocking on Washington's door for years, and continue to do so despite the feeling that things are not changing. I would say, certainly on the side of the collective, in particular the past 6 months, we have really been focused on this issue of arms trafficking into Haiti, and asking the U.S. to stop arms trafficking into Haiti. And you may feel like it doesn't have a direct impact, but it has a direct impact on women and lives, and violence and so forth. So certainly arms trafficking, as Sasha mentioned, this peacekeeping mission that has come in. Last week, we had a conversation with the U.S. ambassador to Haiti to say there's still a lack of transparency around this. We have not heard about the role or the ability for civil society to participate. There's no mechanism in place. And we also raised the issue of having a mechanism for confidential claims should something happen. And so that, and obviously we also advocated for issues around TPS, to be able to stabilize families and individuals who have migrated from Haiti, be it through the humanitarian parole program or through other measures. So I think they're all related in different ways and in different levels. And I would say that, and I saw a little bit of the question, I don't know that this administration would say, well, if you don't work with women, We have some conditions that we will hold back on, but some of the things that I mentioned, as well as continuing to inform the administration, I think is important, and we've done that at the congressional level, but also most recently with the U.S. ambassador and others, including, as I mentioned, UN Women, that while there may be priorities at the global level for UN Women and they align with women's empowerment, Haiti is in the time of crisis now. So sometimes you got to throw the plan out to address exactly what's going on. And so be it the Biden administration, be it international actors, continuing to press on, continuing to message around the needs of women and girls at crisis levels in Haiti, I think is key to try to get as much support as we can. And as we push them, hopefully they push other actors as well. Pascal?
We want to see the day where the administration will support the Haitian women, the Haitian population, and not the Haitian government. And to support Haitian women, you have to listen Haitian women. And for years, we advocate for what we need. We denounce what we live every day in the country. We ask for what we want, what we need for years. And we remind every day that we are not only survivors or victims of this crisis, we are two actors in this crisis, peace builders in this crisis. We are people who can propose and can act in this crisis. And the US administration, Harris, Biden, Harris, whatever, they have to listen. They have to listen Haitian people. They have to listen Haitian women. They have to recognize that Haitian women have complete ability to decide for themselves, to know what they need, to know what they want as Haitian women, but as citizens too in their country. And today, as I said, we will see if it's really a political vision of this administration to support Haitian women. I think the point of Karine are really important, especially the one about the home trafficking. We advocate for years about how the US administration can help to stop or reduce the trafficking coming in Haiti every day. And that give all this power to the gang in this country. We advocate for having sanction against political actors, economic actors who support gangs, and all traffics in the country that we present will risk for Haitian women and girls in the country. We advocate against all this deportation of Haitian during the administration of Biden and before. So we continue to talk, to try to say what Haitian women expect from the US administration. It's not only us, we are just activists, advocate, but we have millions of women in the country. We work with them every day. We are with them every day in the communities. So we listen them, and we want to express what they need every day to the actors at the international level, especially in the US, that have a big influence on political agenda and political action of our national actors in the country. The first step is to listen Haitian women, to respect Haitian women, to give spaces to Haitian women. And we will see that, yes, you want to support Haitian women. When we advocate against this international force from Kenya, we have to remember that last year, we had one of the biggest mobilization against feminicide in Kenya. We can see all the abuse of the Kenyan police in their own country. So as activists, we ask for mechanism to do monitoring and to sanction the international and to protect Haitian women from this force. But unfortunately, how you can say you want to support Haitian women if you don't give us tools to really prevent and protect those women in their country. So the support, the first step of support is to respect us as human beings, as women, as citizens, and as part of the solution in our country. We want to see that. We want to see action to stop what is real risk for our lives of as Haitian women, the harms arriving from the US every day in Haiti. We want to see action to punish, to sanction all the actors, international actors and other actors who control every day the violence that we live every day as Asian women in the country. This is how we can see you really want to support Asian women, not giving beautiful words, doing big declaration in media and everything, doing beautiful pictures and having them in social media and everything. Yes, it's important, but this is how we will see and we'll understand that you want to really support more than half of the population in Haiti, because we are today 52% of this country, and our voices, they are important. What we need is crucial in this country. We want to see real support, not this fake support that we have to see for years. So we say that we need in this policy framework. We give orientation to the national actors and political international actors. We will see if this administration, this US administration really want to support the rights of Asian women and to stop the violence that they live every day in the country.
It's really hard to add to that, but I guess one thing I will say is that, the best thing the United States government can do is to stop what is like a chronic history of policies of making really poor sort of short-term US interest-focused decisions in supporting oftentimes repressive leaders in Haiti who are not aligned with human rights and who are not aligned with the women's movement, including the set of actors who have directly precipitated Haiti's crisis right now. So I think one of the most important things for the US government to do is to live up to its own human rights values, including respecting the sovereignty of the Haitian people and give space for Haitian people to reclaim their country and their democracy. And a couple concrete examples, as Corinne and Pascal mentioned, is to stop our horrific weapons policy that floods Haiti with guns, and to stop supporting individuals engaged in corruption and arming armed groups in Haiti. And also things like, not supporting a military intervention into Haiti without any kind of safeguards after promising to include safeguards over, enormous objections of Haiti civil society. So, I think the thing the US government needs to do is to live up to its own human rights values and to shape its policies accordingly. And then one other thing I'll add to Pascal's really important point of centering and listening to Haitian women is this throws back to one of the questions posed in terms of funding, is in our recommendation 5. One of the things that we point out is that there really needs to be an empowerment and centering of Haitian women's political and policy organizing, because so often donors really want to focus on other types of women-focused organizations because it's easier, or they can dictate the policies, or everyone sort of aligns. And the whole point is to enable political voice by Haitian women and leadership by Haitian women and politics by Haitian women, right? And so it's incredibly important that there is space and funding and respect directed at this sector of Haitian women's movement, which has historically been really marginalized, including especially by donors and the choices that they make. So I just wanted to uplift that as well.
I don't see any more questions, and I mean, you three have just provided so much information. I think all of us are deep in thought processing it. So I think it's time to thank Corinne and Pascal and Sasha, as well as to everybody who stayed on for this whole event, and look forward to collaborating with everybody as we try to put this energy into concrete steps that are going to make advancements in the rights of women and girls in Haiti.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody. Hi, Ruth.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.